believe that it will be a big innovation, not just for rugby league, but also other sporting organisations. We do intend to develop it into a stadium of first-class facilities for patrons. We will be encouraging other sporting organisations to use that venue. That's our aims and objects as far as the International Sports Centre is concerned.
Are there any benefits for your organisation?
Oh, there will be benefits, of course, because we'll have better facilities for our patrons to watch rugby league. Yes, that's the benefits to us.
Newcastle Rugby League received another boost last night with the announcement of the State Bank Encouragement Awards. Throughout the 84 season, the State Bank will present one player each week with a cheque for $75. And at the end of the season, one lucky player will receive $500 and an encouragement trophy.
It's an encouragement award, and that's not for necessarily the best player on the field. It's for that person that tries, and the rugby league needs that. This is for the good guys, not necessarily the bad guys, to use an American expression.
Association sees it is far from perfect. It claims the Newcastle public transport system has stood still for many years. Diesel locomotives may have replaced steam trains and buses may have replaced transit chairs, but timetables and running times have not changed significantly since the early 50s. The result of all that, according to the association, is a public transport system that over-services areas where populations are declining and virtually ignores the growing outer suburbs.
Well, the major problem is we don't have a transport system. We have government buses, railway system and private buses all operating independently of each other. They actually conflict in the provision of services in some areas and don't supply any service at all in others.
So what you're saying is that the transport in Newcastle could perhaps be streamlined?
The transport system in Newcastle could be improved quite considerably by introducing operating practices that the UTA already uses in Sydney.
A public meeting held at the Newcastle City Hall last night revealed that the Transport Improvement Association does have some support for the
One in Newcastle, and then also look quickly at Ferry, Fremont to come in. You don't know how.
The aim of the meeting was to give the people who use public transport a chance to air their discontent. A committee formed at the meeting will prepare the submission, which will be presented to the Newcastle Transport Task Force next month. It will also call on the Minister for Transport, Mr. Croft, to provide ongoing consultation after the submission is made. The idea behind the forums is to give business owners throughout the Lake Macquarie area the opportunity to raise and discuss matters relating to
away to the
commercial
Charlestown Centre.
Last night's meeting
The car parking study for Charlestown, it is the first matter on the agenda, business on the agenda, Mr Chairman, is to get an input concerning the car parking study. I suggest the Council give in consideration that their subsequent meeting is the first matter on the agenda. From the Chamber of Commerce, we are on to those problems.
A charge that, well, nobody expected.
We've always got other charges. You've got your own registration fees for registering your business, your telephones, everything. Now, as far as we can see, this is just a means of council to raise a lot of revenue at the place where it's not going to affect anybody in the general community, in other words, the voters, so let's hit the small businessman. It's just another charge that we've got to put up with, and it's just getting too much.
Taken to Wallsend Hospital by ambulance. However, none suffered any serious injuries. Hillsborough Road, which links Charlestown and Warners Bay, was blocked to traffic for more than an hour as police officers and the accident investigation squad tried to establish the cause of the collision.
Local members of Parliament, hospital staff and the Royal Newcastle Hospital ward watched the by the Minister for Health, Mr. Mulock. This changed the hospital there's a customer pipeline. That's 1178 will be used as some 35 roles or including the hospital in operation by the Ministry. That system alone will save the hospital about $60,000 a year. The other conclusions are ranked 1176. Is all part of the government's plan to take the technology in our hospitals.
It's a great commitment in terms of making sure that our hospitals do take advantage of new technology and the changes that are occurring almost on a daily basis in that area. I think anybody seeing this here today would realise that it's very much up to date, and it's something that will have to be kept up to date in order to maximise the use of new technology.
By the end of this financial year, it has been predicted that Royal Newcastle Hospital will be 500. At the meeting, the chairman of the board, Mr. Graham Mullane, announced that the hospital will come in $94,000 under budget this year. And with that money, it's anticipated that 12 beds will be reopened at weekends at Belmont Hospital. That decision still has to be ratified at next week's board meeting. Mr. Mullane also announced that building should commence on the new operating block at the Royal sometime this financial year.
The 110 men and women gathered at the Morpeth Conference Centre are representatives of 46 social welfare schemes, all aimed at helping the family. Drawing funding from both the federal and state governments, their numbers have grown dramatically in the past decade, reflecting the increasing problems many families face. Two problems in particular are being discussed: child abuse and how to support those who suffer loss of a family member, of income or of self-esteem. The Family Support Services advise families dealing with officialdom and teach a variety of survival skills and crafts. There are a great number of welfare groups performing similar functions. So what makes these services special?
I think basically it's because that people are able to come along to a family support scheme and ask for help. I don't feel they think or feel that they're inferior when they come along to us. They don't have to go through the red tape and fill in forms, and they're much more accepted as people. Everyone's known on first name, so we probably provide a service much more like an extended family than the contact they make through other welfare agencies.
solution that will bring back fond memories for many parents. Contented hours spent treating what Torres Community Railway to look just right. But perhaps the most frightening thing about this place is the effect it has on children. They are simply captivated by it. The feature of the exhibition is this model of a 1936 British steam engine, which runs continuously around a meticulously constructed track. The latest in scientific models from the United States is in Australia. There is also a static display of pinpoint and red ministries as carriages, sheep and railway cars. Those things are studio exhibitions will have to hurry to finish tomorrow. The computer centre was opened yesterday by the Minister for Health, Mr. Ron Moore. At this stage, the hospital has two computers, but a third with the use of the computer equipment is expected to be installed in the near future. The BAS 1178 will be used for news services. It is scheduled to begin operating by the end of the year and is expected to save the hospital about $60,000 a year. The other computer, the BAS 11750, taking over from the 7-year-old regional pathology service computer. This new equipment installation is part of the government plan to keep our hospitals in pace with technology.
It's a great commitment in terms of making sure that our hospitals do take advantage of new technology and the changes that are occurring almost on a daily basis in that area. I think anybody seeing this here today would realise that it's very much up to date, and it's something that will have to be kept up to date in order to maximise the use of new technology.
Later, the Health Minister attended the Royal Newcastle Hospital's 167th Annual General Meeting. At the meeting, the Chairman of the Board, Mr. Graham Mullane, made a surprise announcement. He told the meeting that the hospital will come $94,000 under budget this year. It's anticipated that the money will be used to reopen 12 beds at weekends at Belmont Hospital. Mr. Mullane also announced that work on the hospital's new operating block will commence this financial year.
Titled Treasures of the National Trust, the collection opened at the Newcastle Region Art Gallery today. As the name suggests, the paintings and prints are the best of those hanging in the National Trust homes throughout New South Wales. The owners of these early homes retained their taste for all things European. This portrait of a courtesan is by an obscure 17th century French artist, while the early portraits painted in Australia also reflect European styles. Colonial landscape artists did their best to make Australia look like an English country garden, until Conrad Martin started painting bush scenes like these. The collection contains a few surprises. This is by a Chinese artist named Sun Qua and shows the Portuguese colony of Macau. Treasures of the National Trust is displaying until April the 23rd and will then travel to Bathurst, Albury and Griffith.
hearing before Mr Bob Cram, the local authority, got underway at 11 a.m, hearing evidence from both the FEDFA and R.W. Miller, the earth-moving machinery operators at Mount Thorley, who've been on strike for 3 weeks since 3 dragline operators were sacked. The dismissal came after the men were ordered to leave the motor generators and powering to keep the video running. Fuses have been shortened, leaving gaps between them. The men insist on switching off the units when an FEDFA member isn't present. The company says that for reasons of economy, it wants the motor generator sets left running. During one of many recesses in today's hearing, the FEDFA's John Thorley, no relation, explains this is not the first effort to resolve the dispute.
At last week's conference, there was a recommendation from the authority which was accepted by the union as a basis for a resumption. But that recommendation was rejected flatly by the company, and there's been no change in either their position or our position since then.
At the gateway to the mine today, FEDFA members set up a picket line to discourage trucks from using the nearby coal loading facility. This establishment is also in dispute over the sacking of a bulldozer operator 4 weeks ago. Mr Norm Bennett, the driver concerned, says he was sacked for adulterating coal. Mr Bennett claims that heavy rain in recent weeks has made the clay pan under the coal stack very soft, and it's difficult to avoid getting some clay in the coal. He was one of 11 dozer operators at the loader and claims he was singled out unnecessarily for harsh treatment. Earlier today, FEDFA members from several neighbouring mines joined the Mount Thorley strikers at a mass meeting, but they then went off to work. Loading and unloading of coal at the facility ceased for the day, but is expected to resume tomorrow. The pickets say they'll be ready.
The Newcastle team is reported to be fit and well for tomorrow's big game. They loosened up this afternoon at the International Sports Centre as coach Terry Panowitz gave them final instructions. Pano sees the changes in the side as nothing more than expected.
The selectors, I think, have done a very good job, have picked players on the performance that they've shown, and they've scrutinised all the games, gone around all the grounds and had a look at everybody, and they've come up with a side that they think is showing the best at this present stage, and I think that's the way that rugby league should be picked. We have a very good pack of forwards, but we also have a good set of backs. We've got some youngsters in there with a ton of speed and enthusiasm, with a sprinkling of experience in amongst the backs, with Neville Elwin, particularly in the centres. But in the forwards, we've got Michael Pittman, Gary Martin. You couldn't ask for a lot more experience than what these players have had that have been to Sydney, a couple of years' experience, back to Newcastle, and still relatively very young.
Can we win?
We will win.
Some people would have you believe that representative football is a chore for the players. The captain, Gary Martini, disagrees.
Everyone's fairly confident and everyone's happy to be here. They want to play for Newcastle and they also want to win.
A familiar face here in Newcastle is North Coast coach Kevin Hardy. He's here to win as we expected.
This is my 4th year and I believe this side is the best I've coached, and remembering last year we made the final of the Caltex Championship, so I'm looking forward to getting over Newcastle tomorrow and probably going and win this year. We haven't had much time to put the boys together, but with the experience I think we could have come up trumps tomorrow.
Probably the best known footballer on show tomorrow is North Coast captain Rocky Laurie, and he's here for 2 reasons.
Football first, but I have my horse racing here. It's in the last race in Newcastle tomorrow.
So it's off the field and out the gate over to the horse racing?
It may work out that way, yeah.
Can you get 2 wins?
I think so.